Hey guys, so morning video real quick here. So basically, we're getting a little relief rally early on this morning. I wouldn't get too excited about it. We still haven't even crossed over yesterday's daily pivot. We're back testing the daily pivot as we speak. We got data coming out this morning around 8:30. Durable goods, I believe. So be mindful of that. Uh, we came into the target that I was talking about pre-market yesterday, 4308. And I actually have 4308 in my video yesterday morning. So we came right down to 4308. We're bouncing off of it. As a logical place, yearly VWAP, that we would bounce off that level. Now we do have a trend line down here, 4250. A lot of traders are targeting that 4250. So definitely keep that in the back of your mind. Also, on the NASDAQ, this is a low volume area here. So if the momentum gets to the bearish side, it's not hard for at this point for the NASDAQ to go down. It's actually versus historical standards, it's fairly easy for NASDAQ to actually come down pretty quick now. So be mindful of that scenario. Now both these charts, I'm going to go up to a weekly to show you something real quick here. Try to get them both. So basically what you're looking for when you're looking at the markets for the bigger trend, you're wanting to see on the weekly time frame the RSI above or below 50 to give you an indication of the current market trend. We are right. This earlier this week we opened above 50. Now we're below 50 on the ES. So we're right at that crossing point. Bull bear, bias. That's why we're still seeing we're still seeing a lot of back and forth in the markets. We really don't have a directional commitment to the downside yet. But whenever things start falling apart any lower at this point, or if we start losing to 4250, things can get pretty bad quick. So be mindful of that. Now, on the flip side, we're still in the bearish camp on the NASDAQ. So, unfortunately, if you put the volume profile on this thing, where's the study at? Market webs. Okay. And I mentioned in the other video, we just don't have much volume support at this price point. Okay. So we're down here. We're trying to break out of this upper distribution zone coming into today's session. So we're right there, just on the verge of going into this low volume zone, potential low volume zone that hit way back in 2020, and then also here, and even last year, see these violent moves in this trading range, in this zone right here. So be very mindful of a very quick move if they decide to want to take us lower. Okay. Next I'm going to talk about is the Dixie. So basically the trend that's been going up is continuing on the dollar. So we are in a breakout scenario on the Dixie. Your next critical support is 107.735. It really looks like a high odds scenario that we're going to go there. Typically what you're looking for, though, if you're using volume profile, which the Dixie, I can't do that. This has proven in the past to be a liquidation zone. Okay. So what they typically do, they rally right up into that zone, and that would be your typical rejection area. So be mindful of that in your trading. I know that red line there, you might want to trade for a retrace, but historically, on charts, we should be going to 109.75 on the Dixie, and that's going to be valid until it's not. Okay. In the broader sense, some other things I'm looking at here is the crude oil. Very strong pattern, very bullish pattern setting up here. Your main resistance is 93.50. It looks like we're setting up for that. So going into next week, this looks like a very high odds scenario that we're going to 93.50 on crude oil, and that's inflation, technically inflationary pressure hitting the market. So anything can happen. But right now that's what looks like is happening. You can actually draw another trend line right here, which I didn't have it, and right there. So as long as we hold this uptrend right there, the 93.50 is still a valid scenario. So, we'll just keep an eye on it. As long as we don't start losing that trend line, that scenario is still very much intact. Another thing, the trends that are happening right now, that's our interest rates. Okay, guys? I do not believe we're into critical resistance on our interest rates. We're going up, and we're actually going up faster today than we have the past couple of days. So, it does look like we're reaching up into this 4650 area on the TNX. Okay. So just be very mindful of that. That looks like another dollar move higher into the next resistance zone. So definitely keep that on watch. I had to go out on max time to find these levels because these levels I'm having derived from 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. That's how crazy these interest rates have been going. But hey, the trend is still up, so that suggests the trend to the downside in the market is probably still very much valid. So yesterday, I was going on with the guys in the trading group and stuff. I was looking for a move at or above the 200-day moving average, which we did achieve on the VX futures. Okay, we're into a resistance area, potential resistance area on VX this morning. Initially, here we are down on VX futures, and the news hasn't even came out yet. So definitely keep this on watch. This is what's leading me to think that we're in for a relief rally today. They're not pegging this near the highs of yesterday's close going into the news today. That suggests to me that there is a little bit of a bullish bias going into this news event today. So be very mindful of that. Okay. Going through some of the smaller time frame charts. 171 is your critical support, your pivot support for Apple. We didn't quite get that yesterday, so I'm still looking possibly for us to come down and do a hard test again of the 171, maybe even break it. You never know. So that's something I'll watch. I don't know if you saw the riots in Philadelphia. They had a gang go into the Apple store in Philadelphia and clear out the Apple store, and there was all kinds of violence. So basically, that happened overnight. And this is a big problem. So I don't know what the government's going to do to finally take care of this once and for all. But yeah, they got to do something. Basically, I don't want to go. Let's go on to 5 year here real quick. What I always look for, guys, the RSI, it's below the 50%. So there's a slight more bearish bias on the biggest company in the world. So be mindful of that. I know everybody thinks, oh, we're going to rally. We're going to go rocket ship to the moon. The RSI is suggesting to us very weak, a far less likelihood of a big, massive rally. So just be mindful of that in your trading. And then same thing, Microsoft. RSI is below 50. The two biggest companies in the world, their relative strengths on the weekly time frame are now, turning into bearish territory. Just keep that in the back of your mind. In the same tone of frame of mind, though, see this line right here I got on my chart? That is very, very critical pivot support for Microsoft. So be mindful of that in your trading today. We lose that, and it really starts opening the door for a breakdown. The trend line actually is quite considerable lower. So those are the two main things that I want to mention here. A few of the stocks that are showing some troubles. Some other ones, Amazon, the antitrust news out this morning. It is initially just pretty much flat. Okay, we're at a critical pivot right now. I want to put up on the weekly real quick. We are right around the 50, but still better than the other two I just showed you. NVIDIA, wanted to show you real quick. See, NVIDIA is hanging out better, and they actually came in and they were trying to buy NVIDIA in the face of sell-side action yesterday. They were supporting NVIDIA at higher prices. So I do want to point that. See, here's the price from Tuesday. We came up to a higher level, and we never did come back down to Tuesday's lows. So, if you are looking for the bullish side, you would be possibly looking for NVIDIA. In that same tone, we got Tesla, the EU's going after Tesla and all the EU credits they're getting for China, which I think is just noise. Bottom line is they can't make enough cars in the German plant to satisfy German demand, so the cars are coming from China, and EU's bitching about it. It's just a noise event, in my opinion. So, in other words, as you can see, we're right at a critical pivot, very, very critical pivot here. But I do want to point out, if you go on the weekly, 52. So this one still is a bullish signal. So if we're going to get a relief rally, I'd be looking at Tesla. I'd be looking at NVIDIA. What other ones? Google. Google is the strongest of them all on the weekly time frame. And what I really love the Google chart. So let me show you something. You see how clear this is? So we came right down to a trend support, a very critical trend support, and and we literally tested the pivot. Okay, we tested the pivot, came down the trend support, bouncing, and of the mega techs, Google's still the strongest technically, chart out there. So just be mindful of that. This thing here could just come right back up, could go back up to the top of the wedge pattern. You never know. I mean, but this is the one that I'd be really focused in on for a relief rally. That would be one of the first ones I look at. Another one that I would look at, Meta. See? So 62 on the relative strength. This one here is even stronger. We're not getting much downside movement on this chart. Okay? So, this thing's just going sideways. It's showing relative strength. We're holding supports. Let me go down in the smaller time frame, make sure I'm not getting surprised here. Today could be the day. Nope. See? Showing relative strength. Possibly breaking out of this downtrend. There's a downtrend we've been in. So we could be breaking out of this downtrend today. See that wedge formation? We could be breaking out of this downtrend on Meta. So that's one. So Meta and Google, those are the two you'd really want to focus for a potential upside move. Okay. Now I do want to point out we did have Costco earnings last night. It's down $10 on the news. Maybe $10 on the news. So so whatever Costco reported, markets are in a sell mood. So that wasn't good enough. So that is something to be wary about going into today's session. So our calendar this morning. So we got mortgage applications this morning, durable goods at 8:30. That's a really big one. Okay. State Street investor confidence, petroleum inventories 10:30, 2 and 5-year notes, and then we have retail sales data at 9:32. So the retail sales data is going to be very important to gauge. So right as the market opens, we're going to find out retail sales data of what we did last month on the retail front. So be mindful of that. Okay, here in a few hours, we have Paychex. That's one that I follow a little bit. They're reporting here pre-market, but after hours, we have Micron. Micron's the big one after hours here, reporting on earnings. Okay. So some things I'm looking at pre-market. I'm looking at volumes. We've got very light volumes this morning. Just gearing up. We do have. I do have a very constructive chart pattern for Palantir, which I didn't show you guys. It's not really one I trade. Tesla, like I said, is showing above that 50. So, you lean to the bullish side on those trades. NVIDIA is below that 50. You lean to the bullish side on those trades. Amazon is not. I think I showed Amazon if I remember right. Let me look. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, this is the one chart I forgot to show you. So we're right at 50. So it's really neutral. You can't make a decision on Amazon. So bottom line, guys, we're rejecting those pivots that I started my video here. So initially, the trend is still to the downside, and there's nothing about anything that I've seen here to suggest otherwise, with the exception that volatility has come in a little bit. And that makes sense because we are into a resistance area. right above this 200-day moving average on the volatility. So it might actually take a catalyst to get it just take off to the moon. So just be mindful of that in today's trading. But I don't see anything that's really breaking down this morning. Costco is giving us a little bit of scare, but I think this kind of we're in a wait and see to start the session, and we'll just wait for the markets to tell us which way to go. We start breaking yesterday's lows, then we go short, and if we start coming up above supports or above resistance, then we'll go long the market. So, but yeah, I think the risk reward, personally, I think the risk reward is to the upside. So just be really careful in your trading.